Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie, otherwise known as AstroKnotty, and today we're going to be learning how to make this quick and easy treble maker shrug. Now I say shrug, but you are welcome to extend the length of your panels to create a cropped sweater or a full-length sweater. There will be options to create these flare bell sleeves, but you are also welcome to just create a straight sleeve if you prefer. And I will warn you now, treble stitches are huge yarn eaters, but this project will fly by. I can finish this in about a day or two. It really just depends on how motivated I am. But yeah, without further ado, grab your water, your hooks, and let's get started. And really quickly, this is what my sweater shrug looks like on me. I went for an off-shoulder look, and today we'll need 3 measurements. So you will need your shoulder to shoulder measurement, shoulder to underarm, and your sleeve length measurements. I added a couple extra inches to my own personal shoulder width just so I could get this kind of oversized style. But just know the more you add to that shoulder width, the baggier it's going to be on your body. So keep that in mind, and I will show you how to take those measurements and what materials you will need on the next slide. So feel free to pause the screen as needed to get your materials and measurements ready, and let's begin. Okay, so these are the materials that I am personally using today. Going through my scrap skeins and using various weights of 3 and 4 with a 5.75 millimeter hook. Like I said, you are welcome to use any weight yarn and hook size. I've even made this sweater with bulky weight 5 and an 8 millimeter hook, so just have fun with this one. And let's get into it. Now refer to the size chart as needed, but you will need 3 measurements. If you're more advanced, you can just hold the panel up as you create it. That should be fine too, but those measurements are pretty important if making for somebody else. Okay, start by making a chain that stretches to your shoulder width. I am personally going for an off shoulder look today. I would like mine to be a little oversized, so I'm adding an extra inch or 2 to my own shoulder width. And as you can see, it stretches to the measurement I'd like. Once you get to that measurement, chain 4. This counts as your first treble stitch. Now to create a treble, you need to yarn over twice, insert your hook into the 5th chain from the hook. Yarn over, pull through once, yarn over, pull through twice, yarn over, pull through 3 times. And that is your second treble stitch. You're going to repeat this process all the way down the chain. I will try to slow it down again. So yarn over twice, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through once, pull through twice, pull through 3 times. And that is your third treble stitch. To make a treble, yarn over twice, insert into the next chain, yarn over, pull through once, pull through twice, pull through 3 times. And really that is all we're doing. It's the only stitch we are using for the entire pattern. You will continue making trebles all the way down your chain, and I will meet you at the end. Okay, once you get to the end, make sure you insert a treble in that last stitch. It can be a little tight, and that's it. We have completed row 1. Now we're just going to repeat this process. We are going to chain 4. This counts as your first treble. Turn your work. Insert 1 treble into the next stitch and 1 treble in each remaining stitch down. Now, I love treble stitches and I hate them at the same time. You know, they're really big yarn eaters, but it makes a project go by so quickly. Like, you'll be surprised by how quickly you can finish this shrug or sweater. And I will meet you at the end of this row. Okay, now at the end, don't forget to insert a treble into the top of that chain 4. It can be pretty easy to miss, so if it helps, you should count your stitches each row to make sure you aren't missing any. And it really is that easy. We're just going to repeat these solid treble rows until we get to our underarm measurement. We're going to start this pattern as a shrug so that it fits our arm opening, but there will be instructions later on in the video for increasing the length of your shrug into a sweater. But yeah, just keep continuing these solid rows. Start by chaining 4, turning your work, and inserting trebles into each stitch down. I'm going to take my measurement now, and it looks like I'm going to need several more rows. I went ahead and completed them off camera to get my underarm measurement for about 7 to 8 inches. If you find that you are almost to your measurement but don't want to create another treble row, don't worry because we can fix this when we get to the sleeve area. We can make the sleeve area wider without actually adding more rows to the shrug part. Okay, so now we're going to start with our shoulder and head opening. This part requires some very simple math. I like to take my stitch count and subtract 16 stitches from that. Basically, that will leave 8 stitches on our shoulder and a chain that we will need for our head opening. So take your stitch count, subtract 16 stitches, and this will be the chain that you need for your head opening. I personally had 46 stitches. I subtracted 8 for each shoulder side, and so I need to make a chain of 30 stitches. Let me show you what I mean. So chain 4 counts as your first treble. You're going to turn your work, insert 1 treble in the next 7 stitches. If you want a a thicker shoulder, you can add more stitches. You don't have to have 8 like me. Just accommodate that when you are doing your math and subtracting how long your chain should be. So my chain needs to be 30 and I have to skip 30 stitches. If you have a tight tension, I would either size up your hook or make a loose chain because you don't want your head opening to be really tight. So again, I am chaining 30 and skipping 30. Yours may be vastly different, but it's just the same general idea. Now when you are inserting your treble into that 8th stitch, make sure your chain is not twisted. Okay, insert a treble into that 8th stitch or wherever you decided to make your shoulder. Chain is not twisted, and then 1 treble in each remaining stitch down. So hopefully this part wasn't too confusing. Like I said, if you need to adjust to your own personal preference and fitting, you are welcome to, but the idea is to subtract your 2 shoulders from your overall stitch count to figure out how many stitches you should chain and how many stitches you should skip. Feel free to even try this on before moving on to the next row. Okay, and now we are just going to repeat just like we did for the beginning on the opposite side. We're going to chain 4, do a solid treble round. So insert a treble in the next couple of stitches on your shoulder. And be careful when you get to the chain. Make sure that you insert 1 treble in each chain. It would help to count for this row to make sure that it matches your opposite side, because the chains can get a little tricky, as you can see. Even after crocheting for 4 years now, I still have trouble inserting stitches into my chain and finding the right place to insert them. But yeah, I am going to continue this and meet you at the end of this row. Okay, and don't forget to insert a treble in the top of that chain 4 so that your stitch counts are even. And we're basically going to repeat these solid treble rows until we match our first panel. So I need 5 or 6 more rows, and I will meet you at the end. Okay, so I am finishing up my last row. Now my front and back panels have the exact amount of rows and stitch counts, and I will get ready to show you how to work on the sleeves and seaming it together. Like I said, don't worry if this looks too cropped right now. After we work on our sleeves and close up our arms, we will extend the length. So take your project and fold it in half. We're going to create a seam at the armpit area. I'm going to show you 2 different ways. So you can either slip stitch to close and start working on your arm rounds now, or if you need to add more width and open your sleeve a little bit up, you can actually start by making a chain. And this chain you can end up inserting stitches into and just having a wider sleeve opening. And again, just slip stitch to close and then start working on your rounds. This is up to you and how much coverage you need, but I'm just going to insert my hook and slip stitch to close because my sleeve opening is my desired size. So with that same yarn and hook, you're gonna chain 4. Now we're gonna do more solid treble rounds. So we're gonna insert 3 total treble in the side of each row. So this row needs 2 more trebles, and 3, and in the next row insert 3 treble stitches. And we're just going to repeat this all the way around. It can get a little messy depending if you're trying to insert your hook into the side of the stitches or into the stitches, but the idea is still the same, just 3 treble in the side of each treble row. Okay, so my yarn color changed, but I am ending this round with 3 trebles in the side of that last treble row. And then I'm going to slip stitch to the beginning chain 4. For our next round, we are going to turn our work. This will help hide our working seam and not create like this very obvious diagonal stitch line. I don't know if you've ever seen that before when working in the round. I will show you an example after this, but to start your second round, chain 4, turn your work, insert 1 treble in the next stitch and 1 treble in each remaining stitch down. And you're just going to continue this all the way down. So for the sleeves, you have 2 options. You can create long straight sleeves, you can create short sleeves, or you can create flare bell sleeves. Once we get to our elbow, I will show you how to do the flare. But at the end of this round, slip stitch to the chain 4 to close, and you're just going to repeat with a chain 4, turn your work, and insert trebles all the way around. Repeat this until you get to your elbow measurements. So I need several more rounds, and I will meet you there. Okay, but really quickly, I want to show you the mistake that I made on my first sleeve. I did not turn my work each round. I just kept working continuously, and it created this really awful, ugly, just really obvious diagonal seam. This can easily be fixed by just turning your work and making a right and wrong side. So yeah, this is my ugly scrap sweater, but just learned from my mistakes. So to continue, like I said, we're going to work these solid treble rounds until we get to our elbow or slightly past our elbow if you are interested in making the flare. If not, just continue until the length that you desire or get to your wrist, fingertips, whichever for the straight sleeves. Okay, so I have met my elbow measurements, about halfway down, which is 10 inches, and this is without any increases. But if you're interested in making a bell sleeve flare, we will make increases on this next round. Okay, for our first increase round, chain 4, turn your work as needed, and insert 1 treble into that same stitch. So this will count as our first increase stitch. Now 1 treble in the next 3 stitches. 2 and 3. In that next stitch, insert 2 treble crochets, and that'll be another increase. And we are going to repeat this all the way around with 1 treble in the next 3 stitches, and then 2 treble afterwards. Just repeat this pattern. Okay, and I will meet you at the end of this round. Now, once you get to the end, you might find that there's not enough room for a perfect increase. In this case, I just continue to finish the round off with regular trebles instead of trying to squeeze another increase in there. This is just based on my personal preference. It's really not a perfect math. But at the end, slip stitch to your beginning chain 4 to close your rounds. And the next round, we are just going to do a regular round. So there will be no increases. So chain 4, turn your work, 1 treble in the next stitch, and 1 treble in each remaining stitch around. Okay, and at the end of this regular round, just slip stitch to your beginning chain 4 to close it off. And after this, we're going to do 1 more increase round. So chain 4, turn your work, insert 1 more treble into the same stitch, 1 treble in the next 3 stitches, just like we did on our first increase round. So 1, 2, and 3. And in that next stitch, insert 2 trebles. And that is the pattern for this round. 1 treble in the next 3 stitches, and then 2 treble in that stitch after. Once you get to the beginning, slip stitch to that chain 4 to close your round. And I will meet you at the end. And again, once you get to the end of your rounds, it's possible that you don't have a perfect amount to have another increase, which is fine. I'm just going to end my round with regular trebles. I'm going to slip stitch to the beginning chain 4 to close. And from here on out, I'm just going to end with regular rounds. I got to my desired flare. If you'd like, you can do another increase round of your, own choosing, but I'm just going to end it with regular rounds until I get to my fingertips. Now reached my desired length. I only had 2 increase rounds for my sleeve and finished off with 4 regular rounds. My sweater will probably get blocked, so I'm not too worried about the sleeve length not being perfect because these treble stitches are definitely going to stretch out. And go ahead and repeat this for your other sleeve like I did off camera. And to do this, you're just going to insert your yarn and hook into both corners to close that arm area, just like we did for the first sleeve. If you created any additional chains, go ahead and do that now to match the stitch count. Yeah, close that opening and work on your solid treble rounds. So chain 4 and insert 3 total trebles in the side of each treble row. And just make sure that your stitch count and your row count is the exact same as your first sleeve. Okay, and once you're done with both sleeves, I'm again showing you this awful diagonal seam that I made the mistake of doing when I didn't turn my rounds, compared to this really nice seam when I did turn my rounds. So if you are finished with your shrug and decide that you want to add some more length to the torso and turn this into a longer sweater, I will show you how to do that now. We are pretty much creating treble rounds. So insert your yarn and hook into the bottom seam area. This part can get a little tricky. Make sure you pay close attention to where you insert your stitches because our beginning chain just made it a little difficult to see. Yeah, I prefer to insert mine into the chain and also into the treble of that round. But you're going to repeat this all the way to the end with a treble in each stitch. Feel free to count your stitches too to make sure you aren't missing any. And when you get to this other seam, it can get, again, confusing, but just make sure that you are counting your stitches for your rows and rounds to make sure you have the right stitch count. Go ahead and work on the opposite side with a treble in each stitch. And this is it. If you want to keep adding length, you're going to have to turn your work each round and just keep working like this until you get to your desired length. And that's it. It really is that easy, just working these treble rows and rounds. If you find that the bottom of your sweater is too open, too large, feel free to make some slip stitches on your last round or even add like a ribbing detail. Same if you made your straight sleeves. Don't be afraid to add some cuff sleeves and just have fun with your sweater.